All right, and we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our Stencil office hour session of November. We're excited to have you guys here, uh, and we're excited to tell you everything that's been going on with Stencil. It's been a little while since our last office hours session, and we've had a lot going on, so we're excited to dive into it today. Before we get started, there's been a few changes. So if you're new, welcome. You won't notice any of these changes, but if you've been here before, some things may look a little bit different. First being, we have one less beard in this group today. So our good friend Mike is not joining us. We're making a little bit of a change here because Mike's got a lot of his plate, and I've been ramping up a little bit as the Stencil developer advocate. And so going forward, I'm going to be hosting these sessions. I'm sure Mike will join us every now and again to come hang out, but that'll be our plan moving forward. Another new change for us, we've got two new faces. We've got Will Martin and Michael Ellis joining us today. So I don't want to hijack the time from you guys, so I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Maybe Will, if you want to go first.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Will Martin. I'm currently an engineer with Ionic on the Ionic framework team, which uses Stencil. And coming up soon, I will be transitioning to the Stencil team, which I am very excited about. I've been using Stencil almost every single day for the past half year now, I guess. And really love working with it. And I'm really excited to take my experiences as a consumer of Stencil. Ionic Framework is the largest Stencil project. And so taking those experiences and bringing them back into Stencil core and seeing how we can continue to iterate and improve on an already awesome product. I actually recently wrote a blog post on the Ionic blog about using Stencil in a Jamstack environment with another popular open source tool, Supabase. So definitely go check that out. Just as a brief preview, Supabase is a open source alternative to Firebase. That's a common way that people describe it, where you can use all of your database as a service kind of tools, such as like authentication. It uses Postgres and use all of these like from your front-end environment. And so when you combine that with a tool like Stencil, where you have these web components that you can use anywhere, well, now you have full stack development that you can use anywhere, including plain HTML. And so I dive into that and the whole Jamstack ecosystem, which is kind of revolves around that. So go check out that blog post. That's my plug. But just super excited to be here to talk about Stencil and to work on Stencil and to make it better for everyone.
I love it. Well, you got to plug the blog post. Very important. We're super excited to have you on the team, Will. We've gotten to know each other just because, you working on the framework team, our paths have crossed. And especially with you coming out with this blog post, you laid it out very humbly, but this is a really, really great post. And this is your first technical post you've ever written, right?
Yep. First thing writing for people other than myself.
Yeah. So a first post, pretty darn good if you ask me. So do go check that out. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. Awesome. So we also have another new face, Michael. Go ahead. What are you doing here? Who are you?
Thanks, Anthony. My name is Michael. Just recently joined the DevRel team. It's brand new to the company, started last week. So really excited to be here. I joined as the community manager. So Mike is not joining the call. I think you said it pretty well when you said one fewer beard, because we've got a new Michael on the call, sans beard. But really happy to be joining the team, really excited to be working here. My goal is going to be to basically support our open source and developer community here at Ionic. So overseeing Ionic community, Stencil, Capacitor, AppFlow, everything like that, making sure that we have really great programs, events, things in place, everything from docs to activities, and really engaging the community and making sure that we are serving all the developers that care and are passionate about our products and apps. So yeah, a little bit about me. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I started last week. I've been working in community for a number of years now. I spent about 7 years working at Mozilla doing a number of different things, from app and content management to product management, and then several years doing overseeing community programs at Mozilla. Since then, I've worked at a large database company doing community management work, as well as a B2B SaaS company. So definitely excited to be moving on to Ionic and joining the team, and I'm really excited to be working and getting to know the community better.
Awesome. Well, we're super excited to have you, Michael. I think as the DevRel team starts to grow and expand, it just gives us more opportunities to do things for the community. Whatever that may look like. So we're really excited to have you. It's been awesome working with you, even just the past week. We were in a meeting earlier this week, and I mentioned office hours, and Michael was like, bring me in. So really love that you're ready to just jump in, dive in, and get to know the community. So we're excited to have you here. Speaking of DevRel, it's been a little while, but in the past month or so that we've been away, we've actually sponsored 2 conferences as Stencil. This was a first for us. We've never sponsored conferences under the Stencil brand before. So we sponsored Jamstack, which was very convenient given Will's post. So those 2 tied in really nicely. And then we also just recently got done with IJS, the International JavaScript Conference in Munich. I was fortunate enough to give a little talk there about Stencil and why you might want to use it. And those have both been really great. It's been awesome getting to meet members of the community, getting to share a little bit more about Stencil. And we also got to give away some swag, which is always a fun thing. But going forward, we're looking for conferences to go show our face at. So please let us know where you're going to be, where you want to see us, because we are happy to meet you at some conferences. That being said, there's also been a lot going on with regard to Stencil itself. Maybe, 10 minutes in, we'll talk about Stencil now. How about that? Since since our last office hours, we've actually had not 1 but 2 Stencil releases come out. So I think we should talk about 2.9 first, because it was kind of a big one. And we had a particularly exciting feature come out there. I don't know, Ryan, do you want to talk about that a bit? How's the Wi-Fi doing? You were coming in and out before.
It's trying. I'm trying. We're all trying. Sometimes it's the best we can do. 2.9. The big thing was source maps, which allow folks who are using Stencil to be able to more interactively debug their applications by doing things such as setting breakpoints directly within their browsers. And what that does is that allows you to see the state of your program and the state of execution at any given point in time, in an effort to really help you reason about your program rather than having to just put a bunch of either log breakpoints or console.log statements. But I think Anthony's got something prepared for us to take a look at this, and yes. I'm going to hand it off to him to show this off.
Thank you. So this will be a Stencil office hours first. I'm going to share my screen here for a little demo of our source maps. Can you all see this? Font's big enough, everything looks good. Awesome. All right, so let's jump on into it real quick. So a lot of people have been really excited about source maps. It's a big feature, a highly anticipated feature. But we figured, being such a big release, we want to show you, how to use it and how you can integrate it in your IDE. So I've got VS Code open up here. I've got a simple little counter component structured out here. So when we're using source maps, there are a few things that we need to set up. First, if we take a look at our package JSON, you'll see we need the newest versions of Stencil. So that's either going to be 2.9 or 2.10 is when source maps will be available. So you can install npm install Stencil at latest, and you'll get your source maps functionality there. The other thing that we need to do is we need to enable this in our Stencil config file. So we can set our source maps to be true right here, and then we're all set in the config file. Now, if you're using VS Code, the last thing you'll need is this launch.json file. And essentially, this is just going to set up your debugging environment for VS Code. So then we can go over to our little debugger pane over here. And if we hit this nice little play button, we get our component loaded up here. And if we come back into our component itself, now we can put in our breakpoints, right? So I've put in a breakpoint for our increment and our decrement functions. So now when I hit a plus button here, the debugger runs and it catches us in this function here. So at this point, we get to use our debuggers just like we would in any other tool or in any other way. You can step through this and see you can watch for the values. So now our count is going to be 1 as we continue, and we can see that. And same thing if we wanted to hit the minus button here. So again, this is how you're going to set it up. Pretty quick and easy to do. And then you've got all of your debugging functionality that you know and love. So hopefully, like Ryan said, this will allow you to maybe use a few less console logs. Although console logs are always, good too. I don't know about you guys, but I always use the here, did this work? Please God, I hope this works kind of console log statements.
All the time.
Yeah. So hopefully this makes that a bit easier, maybe a bit more professional too. But yeah, so those are source maps. We're super excited about that. But there's also been, this was what was really cool about 2.9 is there were a bunch of other features too. So I know, Will, maybe you wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things you got your hands on for 2.9.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple of cool things that shipped during 2.9. First, we were able to automatically define dependencies for any dist custom elements output targets. That's really great because we found when we were collaborating with Framework, Will knows this for sure. React and Angular, they wouldn't define the custom elements that any given element in Angular or Vue or React needed. So now we added this little flag to make it so that you can do that. And it's a part of the dist custom elements output target. It's just a new Boolean setting that you can say, can someone post the link to that? Actually, I didn't think to do that, but in the doc site, and we'll post that soon. But that's really cool, super helpful. Second thing was the stats output target. So this is something that has been near and dear to my heart. The stats output target, basically what it does is it gives you a sort of list of all the things that actually were output from Stencil during its compilation process. So you can see how large files are, what files were made, what components are defined in what files, and many other performance things. And I'm really excited about this because for me, I've always wanted to pull in a JSON file that says a component, perfect. That's the auto-defined custom elements doc right there. So back on track. For me, I've always wanted to be able to say, in my 11T site, I pretty much did this the moment that the stats flag was shipped. I went to my personal site. I wrote up a little bit of what's the term for that? Head data stuff at the top that says, hey, these are the list. Yeah, front matter. There you go. Thank you. I wrote a list of components that I wanted to preload for any given page, and the stats flag helped me enabled me to do that to improve my performance on the site. And I think that there's much more to explore around this. So we're excited that it's shipped. I'm certainly excited, and hopefully as we get talking more about documentation, how we will later on the call, you'll see a little more about how that'll surface. And then we also killed Dino. Dino's gone. We made it so that Stencil can't execute with Dino. There's a good reason for this. We want to have velocity as a team. We want to figure out how to ship stuff reliably. And each of the engineers on Stencil, both me, Ryan, and Lars, another dev engineer, each bumped into this problem where Dino was just making it hard for us to ship. So we took that out, added an issue in GitHub to say, hey, if you want Dino, please give us some use cases, because what we want to do is we want to support it, and we want to support it well if it makes sense, especially. So those are kind of the judicious decisions we're making in order to get features in your hands as quickly as possible. And it's exciting, I think, personally. So yeah, I want to hand it to Ryan, because Ryan can talk about what we shipped in 2.10, which was something else that we released since the previous office hours.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Will. So in 2.10, this was a bit smaller of a release compared to 2.9. 2.9 was arguably the largest one that we've done to date. 2.10 was a little bit of small fixes and kind of chores around the repo, but there are two changes that we wanted to talk about today that impact people that are using Stencil on a day-to-day basis. The first of which is TypeScript 4.3 support. So we're going to talk a little bit more about our release cadence as a Stencil team, probably right after this, actually. But the TypeScript team as a whole typically releases a new version or a new minor version of TypeScript roughly once a quarter. And we want to kind of continue on with that cadence with keeping Stencil up to date with respect to what version of TypeScript we use. So within up to and through version 2.9, we were using TypeScript 4.2, and now we're using TypeScript 4.3. And what that means is that all of the features and functionality of TypeScript 4.3, whether that be the override keyword, improvements to template literals or string template literals, all of those can be utilized within your Stencil code today. So we're really excited about that, because that means that we're keeping the code base modern and up to date, and so that you can use the latest and greatest features of the language. Second thing that I want to talk about today is a flag that's been available in the www output target for quite some time now, but we haven't brought it over to the custom elements world. And what we're releasing, or what we have released in version 2.10, is the ability to enable Delegate's focus on custom elements. So one of the things that we actually realized we hadn't even had documented to date was the fact that when you define a component in Stencil, you have the capacity to declare whether or not your component uses shadow DOM. And typically, folks typically use a Boolean value for that flag. So they'll say shadow true or shadow false, or maybe they'll use scoped. But another configuration option that we've always had for our lazy load builds was the ability to pass in an object literal, wherein folks could say delegates focus and then pass a true or false value to that. And what that does is that it changes the behavior within an element and shadow DOM depending on whether or not you've clicked on a non-focusable element or not. So what we've done is we've documented that properly to make sure that folks of either output target understand what they're able to do. And we've also gone and implemented this in the custom elements output target. So folks can start using that today and have similar behavior between their lazy load builds as well as their custom elements output target. We'll grab a link to that documentation so you folks can check it out. And yeah, those are the big things.
Yeah, love it. So yeah, like you said, we'll grab some links to documentation. We've also got 2 blog posts that came out with each of those releases, kind of explaining each of the new features at a high level. So if there's anything you want to dive a little bit deeper into, you can check those out as well. Michael, you're back. You've got the bad Wi-Fi now. Hopefully we'll keep you now. But Ryan, you had mentioned it a little bit. So, an astute observer might notice that, there's been 2 releases on a regular cadence now. So tell us more about that. What's going on with that now?
Yeah, I can totally do that. So we had talked a little bit about this, I believe, in our last office hours. But as the team's kind of grown and as we've learned more about Stencil and we've refined our processes, we really wanted to get to a state where we were able to release Stencil at a regular interval or at a regular cadence. So within Ionic as a company, the engineering organization focuses on practicing 3-week agile-like iterations. So every 3 every 3 weeks we start a new sprint, and within those 3 weeks we execute on the work that we've committed to do. So what we're looking to do, and what we've begun to do and have started to execute on ourselves, is that at the beginning of every iteration, so every 3 weeks, what we do is we cut a new release of Stencil. And that typically happens early in the afternoon Eastern time. But what that does is that signals a time in which we're going to release all of the work that we had done in the previous sprint. So you'll notice that there's exactly a 3-week span between our 2.9 release and our 2.10 release. And that's something that we're looking to continue for the foreseeable future. What that means, and what we hope to guarantee here, is that in giving you a release every 3 weeks, we're constantly improving the product and we're constantly iterating on it. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll always be providing a minor release every 3 weeks. In some cases, we might just have some patches and some minor fix-ups. So we might have a single patch release. Nor does that mean that we're only going to have a single release every 3 weeks. Should there be a bug that we feel that needs immediate attention, or we have some feature set that we'd really like to get out to the community, there's definitely an opportunity for us to push a release out more than once every 3 weeks. But generally speaking, we're looking for our average release cadence to be about once every 3 weeks moving forward.
Yeah, I think this is great. I think it's going to make our cadence obviously more regular, but more predictable. And so I hope the community will appreciate that, and that'll be something to look forward to for those who are following Stencil closely. Now, as I'm thinking about it, obviously, November is exciting because we've got our November office hours, but on our cadence at Ionic, November is also the start of our 4th quarter. We kind of work on this shifted quarterly schedule, right, where Q4 for us is November to January. So maybe our product manager, what are the plans for Q4? What are we looking towards?
Anthony, great question. I'm really excited about this, what we're doing in Q4. And just to give folks some context, this past month for me has been, putting to paper what the heck is Stencil's product strategy, and actually putting together a roadmap, which I think is really exciting. I'm not going to share that yet. We're only talking about Q4, but that's involved in, for this quarter, what do we do for the rest of the year, or for our next year? So for this quarter, I'm really excited because we're trying to focus on improving the quality of the Stencil repo and all the tangential packages, as well as like improving testing. And our big goal this quarter is going to be just 27 and up. We don't have a timeline for it, for releasing just 27 and up, but that's what's coming down the pike. And I'm excited because hopefully this quarter is just a kind of like a grease the gears idea.
Love that.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited too.
I need to clarify something. It's only just 27 for sure, just in case. We're gonna make sure that we, because there's a couple interesting changes between 27 and 28 that we want to be mindful of. So I'm gonna set an expectation of just 27.
I think you've learned from last time with your clarification. If anyone remembers from last office hours, Will said that we can put all responsibility on him.
100% true. Yep.
So we dialed that back a little bit. Awesome. Yeah, something that I'm super excited for, and I think Michael and I are both really looking forward to this from a DevRel perspective, is we've got an initiative for documentation. Will, you showed off some really cool stuff this morning about plans for documentation. So do you want to maybe talk about that too?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I've been hearing, both in the Slack, in Twitter, just across the board around Stencil's ecosystem and community, is that the docs are not where they need to be. And I think we all want some attention paid to them. So my big initiative has been to audit the site, the docs themselves, gather data from both GitHub issues that are just like, the docs need to improve, please, can you do this? And also a Google form that I've been sending out all throughout the Slack, just trying to continue to add that that clarifying detail when someone ever posts in the technical questions channel in Slack. And that's the link to the forum. And if ever you find yourselves bumping into any sort of issues around the docs, like just go to that link and submit it. It's quick. It's 2 questions. It's like what page needs to be improved and more or less why. And from that, what I've done so far is I have the entire site put into Figma. I have a Google spreadsheet with the entire sitemap, and I've started to detail like this, meta description SEO sort of level changes. And now I have like docs where we can start to make edits themselves to the pages. So a ton of progress around documentation, and that's my big personal initiative. My personal goal is to make 20 edits, 20 doc changes at a minimum by the end of the quarter, to elevate the docs from point A to where they really need to be. So I'm excited about that.
No, I think it's really exciting, especially like I said, from a DevRel perspective. One of our big missions is to just make Stencil, more accessible to everyone, and this is the way to do it, right? Among also creating content and creating tutorials and speaking and all that good stuff. Documentation is such a core part of making any technology accessible. So yeah, really excited for this initiative. Can you tease us a little bit? What are some of the top of mind docs pages that we're looking at?
Oh, buddy. Number one, from what I've gathered so far, is the Angular page, the Angular integrations page for the framework binding. That's going to be the first thing I tackle. And then the React page as well. There's just been so many framework updates since those pages have been written that it's worth like thinking critically about what the content is on those pages.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one that I want to focus on right after those sort of integration pages or like usage. So one key page I was thinking about was the styling page. And that is, both the styling pages and the assets pages, how to work with assets and distribute them so that they actually can be pointed correctly. So those 4 pages are the first on my docket. React, Angular, in no particular order, but probably I'm going to figure out the order soon. Angular, React, styling and scoping, and also working with assets. So those are the big 4 that are, I'm excited about.
Yeah, go on, Will.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say this Will guy is so thorough. He shows up in a meeting this morning with this huge behemoth of a spreadsheet. Like every page and concept on the doc side, everything that he wants to communicate, and so I'm really excited about going forward with this. And also just another note on the framework integrations. Well, hey, I've been working with Ionic Framework, using these framework output targets, and so also super excited to bring my experience, using these to hopefully make the docs communicate their power, their flexibility, and just how they work and how to use them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the exciting parts of bringing you on the team now, Will, is that you've been a Stencil user, in one of its largest use cases. So excited to see or get rather your opinions. I also every time I say Will now, we talked about this in a meeting previously. This whole to Will thing, I think, is going to bother me more than anyone else. But I think we can go with context clues for now, and if it becomes too bad, we'll adjust to some other naming convention. But
maybe y'all might need to refer to me as like William. Like I'm William or something.
William. Well, I was thinking, you both have first names for last names. So there's a convenience there too. But
my middle name is also a first name, so honestly, we can just go with any of it.
We've got options. If all else fails, that's good to know. Speaking of documentation, and especially what you were saying about React and Angular, Will, we, before every office hours, we tweet out a little form for people to submit some questions beforehand if they can't make it to the session live. And we had one question in particular about kind of what you were saying, just some general confusion of Angular and React and Vue even, and how to integrate Stencil with those frameworks. So do know, we are working on it. It is something that is top of mind, and hopefully will be easier and more understandable going forward. The other thing too, you reminded me of when you were talking about styling and assets. We may or may not have some Stencil kind of CSS styling content coming out soon. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know.
Hint, hint, weak, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, right. I can't wink very well, but the last thing I wanted to get to, like I said, we have this form that people can fill out to ask some questions. We had another question, and to paraphrase it, essentially, getters and setters. It's been something talked about. What's the deal with them?
Yeah, so I'll take this on. So for getters and setters, I think this is the big one that we're doing research around. I'm doing discovery this quarter to figure out what it takes to get it from where it is today to a part of Stencil. And it's just discovery. We're just doing the research, trying to figure out what it would take to get it from, like I said, point A to point B. But yeah, that's the big discovery ticket I have on my plate this quarter. So
Love
yay!
It. Something we're looking at. Love it. Awesome, guys. Well, that's last of the questions. One final note before we sign off here. We've been really enjoying doing these office hours, and it's something that we're going to continue in the future. But one thing to note is this is going to be the last office hour session of 2021. We know with holidays and travel and vacation, there's going to be a lot going on in the next 2 months. So we're going to take a little break, and then come January, start of 2022, we'll be hitting the ground running with office hours on a very regular cadence. So we're looking forward to that. In the meantime, enjoy the time, enjoy the holidays. If you're going on vacation, enjoy that as well. But yeah, it's been great, and we will see you guys in 2022. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.